The life of Leonardo da Vinci, the man who painted and invented. Hello and welcome. Today we have a story about a very special person from a long time ago. His name was Leonardo da Vinci. He was a great artist who painted beautiful pictures. He was also a great thinker who had many amazing ideas. This is his story. Before we begin, I have a question for you. Do you like to draw pictures, or do you like to build things? Please tell me in the comments below. I would love to read your answers. Now, let's start the story. Leonardo was born in Italy a very long time ago in the year 1452. He was born in a small town called Vinci. That is why he is called Leonardo da Vinci. It means Leonardo from the town of Vinci. As a little boy, Leonardo was not like other children. He did not play the same games. He loved to be outside. He would walk in the fields and in the woods near his home. He looked at everything very carefully. He looked at the flowers and the trees. He watched the birds fly in the sky. He watched the water move in the river. He was a very curious child. Curious means he always wanted to know more. He asked many questions. Why is the sky blue? How do birds fly? How does a river move? He wanted to understand how the world worked. Leonardo did not go to a normal school for a long time. He learned by looking and by doing. He loved to draw. He had a small notebook, and he drew everything he saw. He drew the animals he saw in the fields. He drew the faces of people in his town. He drew the clouds in the sky. Drawing was his way of understanding things. If he could draw something, he could understand it better. His father saw that Leonardo was very good at drawing. His drawings were not like a child's drawings. They were very good. His father knew that Leonardo was special. He wanted to help his son. When Leonardo was about 14 years old, his father took him to a big city. The city was called Florence. Florence was a very busy and important city at that time. There were many famous artists and thinkers there. It was a city full of new ideas and beautiful art. Leonardo's father took him to the workshop of a famous artist. A workshop is a place where an artist works. This artist's name was Andrea del Verrocchio. Verrocchio was a master. He was a painter, but he also made big statues from metal and stone. Leonardo became Verrocchio's apprentice. An apprentice is a student who learns by working for a master. It was a very good place for a young boy like Leonardo to learn. In the workshop, Leonardo did not just learn to paint. He learned many things. He learned how to mix colors. He learned how to prepare wood for painting. He learned how to work with metal to make statues. He learned about science and math because an artist needed to know these things to build and create. Leonardo was a very good student. He learned everything very quickly. He worked hard every day. He was always watching his master, Verrocchio. He was always learning. He was not just good, he was amazing. One day, Verrocchio was working on a big painting. It was a painting of a religious story. In the painting, there was an angel. Verrocchio asked Leonardo to paint the angel. So Leonardo took the brush and the colors, and he painted the angel. When he was finished, everyone in the workshop looked at the angel. It was beautiful. It was more beautiful than anything Verrocchio had ever painted. The story says that when Verrocchio saw Leonardo's angel, he was so surprised. He saw that his student was now better than him, the master. Some people say that Verrocchio was so amazed that he decided he would not paint again. Leonardo worked with Verrocchio for many years. He learned all he could, but soon it was time for him to leave. He was no longer a student. He was a master himself. At the age of 20, Leonardo opened his own workshop in Florence. He was now a professional artist. Rich people in churches started to ask him to make paintings for them. He was becoming known in the city. But Leonardo was a different kind of artist. Other artists worked fast. They finished one painting and started the next one. Leonardo was slow. He was a perfectionist. A perfectionist is a person who wants everything to be perfect. He would work on a painting for a very long time. He would think about every small detail. Sometimes, he would not finish his paintings. He would start a painting, work on it for a while, and then he would get a new idea. His mind was always full of new ideas. He was interested in so many things, not just painting. During this time, he started something very important. He started writing in notebooks. These were not normal notebooks. He wrote in them every day for his whole life. He wrote down his thoughts and his ideas. He drew pictures of everything he saw and everything he imagined. He wrote about painting and colors. He wrote about music. He wrote about the human body. He wrote about animals and plants. He drew pictures of people's faces, showing if they were happy or sad or angry. He wanted to understand how feelings looked on a face. He also drew machines. He had ideas for machines that could help people. He drew machines that could fly like birds. He drew machines that could go underwater. He drew machines for war. Many of these machines were impossible to build at that time. The technology did not exist, but Leonardo's mind was living in the future. His notebooks were a window into his amazing brain. After some years in Florence, Leonardo wanted a change. He heard about a powerful man in another city. The city was Milan, and the man's name was Ludovico Sforza. Ludovico was the ruler of Milan. He was very rich and powerful. He loved art and science. Leonardo thought Milan would be a good place for him. So Leonardo wrote a letter to Ludovico. In the letter, he talked about all the things he could do. It was a strange letter. He did not talk much about his painting. Instead, he wrote about his ideas for engineering and for war. He said he could build special bridges. He said he could design new weapons. He said he could make machines to protect the city. At the very end of the letter, he said that he could also paint. Ludovico was interested. He invited Leonardo to come to Milan. Leonardo moved to Milan and started to work for Ludovico. He lived and worked in Milan for almost 20 years. In Milan, Leonardo did many different jobs. He was not just a painter, he was an engineer and an inventor for Ludovico. He helped to plan big parties and festivals. He designed costumes and machines for the stage. He worked on a big plan to control the rivers around Milan. One of his biggest jobs was to create a huge statue. It was a statue of Ludovico's father on a horse. Leonardo wanted to make the biggest horse statue in the world. He spent years studying horses. He watched them move. He drew them in his notebook. He made a huge model of the horse out of clay. The clay horse was very big and beautiful. Everyone in Milan came to see it. The next step was to make the statue in bronze, a type of metal. This was a very difficult job. It needed a lot of metal. But before Leonardo could finish, a war started. The metal that was for the horse statue was needed to make weapons for the war. The great horse was never made in bronze. The clay model was later destroyed by soldiers. It was one of the great unfinished works of Leonardo's life. Even though he was busy with many other things, Leonardo also painted in Milan. He painted one of his most famous works there. It is called The Last Supper. The Last Supper is a very big painting. It is not on a canvas or on wood. It is painted directly on the wall of a small church dining room. The painting shows Jesus and his 12 friends, the apostles, at their last meal together. Leonardo did something new and different with this painting. In older paintings of this story, the apostles all looked calm, but Leonardo wanted to show a real moment with real human feelings. He painted the moment when Jesus says that one of his friends will betray him. In Leonardo's painting, every apostle has a different reaction. They are shocked. They are angry. They are sad. They are confused. You can see the feelings on their faces and in the way they move their hands. It looks like a real moment frozen in time. Leonardo worked on this painting for 3 years. He was very slow and careful. Sometimes he would stand and look at the painting for a whole day and not paint a single stroke. He was thinking. He wanted to make every person in the painting perfect. He would walk around the streets of Milan, looking for faces that he could use for the apostles. He also tried a new way to paint on the wall. Usually, artists painted on wet plaster. This was called fresco. But fresco painting was very fast, and Leonardo wanted to work slowly. So he painted on a dry wall. This was a new idea, but it was not a good idea for the paint. After many years, the paint started to flake and fall off the wall. The painting began to disappear. Today, the painting is very damaged, but we can still see its beauty and power. It is one of the most famous paintings in the world. Leonardo's time in Milan was a good time. He was famous and respected. He had money and he had many interesting projects. But it did not last forever. The war that stopped his horse statue became worse. French soldiers came and took control of Milan. Ludovico Sforza lost his power. It was not safe for Leonardo anymore. He had to leave the city. So, at the age of 48, Leonardo left Milan. For the next few years, he traveled to different cities in Italy. He worked for different powerful people. For a time, he worked as a military engineer for a man named Cesare Borgia. Borgia was a powerful and dangerous man. Leonardo traveled with his army. He made maps for them. The maps he made were very special. They were very accurate. They looked like maps we see today, seen from above, like from a bird's eye view. No one had made maps like this before. During his travels, Leonardo continued to study the world around him. His notebooks became fuller and fuller. He was very interested in the human body. He wanted to understand how it worked. He wanted to know what was inside. He studied the bones and the muscles. He wanted to know how they moved together. He believed that to be a great artist, he needed to understand this. He needed to know how a person's arm moved so he could paint it perfectly. He needed to know how a person's face made a smile so he could draw it correctly. His drawings of the human body are amazing. They are very detailed and correct. He was not just an artist. He was also a scientist. He was learning about the human body hundreds of years before doctors understood many of these things. He kept these studies private in his notebooks. After his travels, Leonardo returned to Florence, the city where he started as a young artist. He was older now and very famous. While he was in Florence, he started to paint another picture. This picture would become the most famous painting in the entire world. It is called the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is a painting of a woman. We do not know for sure who the woman was. She is sitting in a chair, and she is looking at us. She has a very small, gentle smile on her face. It is a mysterious smile. Mysterious means it is hard to understand. Is she happy? Is she sad? What is she thinking? People have asked these questions for 500 years. Leonardo worked on this painting for many, many years. He used a special technique that he created. He used very thin layers of paint. This made the light and shadows on her face look very soft and real. One of the most special things about the Mona Lisa is her eyes. If you look at the painting, it feels like her eyes are following you. No matter where you stand, it seems like she is looking directly at you. Leonardo loved this painting. He never gave it to the person who asked for it. He kept it with him for the rest of his life. He took it with him everywhere he went. He was always working on it, always trying to make it more perfect. Leonardo was now an old man. He had lived a long and full life. He had worked in Florence, Milan, and other cities. He had served powerful rulers. He had created amazing art and filled notebooks with incredible ideas. In his last years, he received an invitation from a very important person. It was the King of France. The King of France loved Leonardo's work. He thought Leonardo was the greatest man of his time. He invited Leonardo to come and live in France. The king gave Leonardo a beautiful house. He did not ask Leonardo to do any big jobs. He just wanted Leonardo to be near him, to talk with him, and to share his amazing ideas. The king treated Leonardo with great respect. So Leonardo moved to France. He was about 64 years old. He brought his notebooks with him, and he brought his favorite painting, the Mona Lisa. In France, Leonardo lived a quiet life. He organized his notebooks. He continued to draw and write. He talked with the king about art, science, and the world. He was a very wise old man. His body was getting weak, but his mind was still sharp and full of curiosity. Leonardo da Vinci died in France in the year 1519. He was 67 years old. He left all of his notebooks and paintings to his favorite student. So what did Leonardo leave behind for the world? What is his legacy? A legacy is what a person leaves for future people. First, he left behind some of the world's most beautiful and famous art. Paintings like The Last Supper and the Mona Lisa are seen by millions of people every year. They show us his incredible skill as a painter. They show us how he understood people and their feelings. But Leonardo was much more than a painter. His true legacy might be in his thousands of pages of notebooks. For a long time after he died, nobody knew about his notebooks. They were hidden. When people finally found them and read them, they were shocked. Inside the notebooks, they saw the mind of a genius. They saw a man who was thinking about the future, hundreds of years before his time. He had drawings for a flying machine that looked like a helicopter. He had ideas for a car without horses. He had a design for a tank for war. He drew a suit for a person to breathe underwater. He studied rocks and mountains and understood how they were formed. He studied the moon and the sun. He studied how water moved. He studied how light worked. He was an artist, an inventor, a scientist, an engineer, and a thinker, all in one person. Many of his ideas were never built. He did not have the right tools or materials, but the ideas were there, in his drawings, in his notebooks. Leonardo da Vinci teaches us something very important. He teaches us the power of curiosity. He shows us that it is important to always ask questions, to look at the world carefully, and to try to understand how things work. He did not see a difference between art and science. For him, they were the same thing. They were both ways to understand the beauty and the mystery of the world. He showed us that one person can be interested in everything. You don't have to choose just one thing. You can be an artist and a scientist. You can be a painter and an inventor. His life was long and full of wonder. He started as a small boy in a small town who loved to draw. He became one of the most famous and respected people in the world. He never stopped learning, he never stopped thinking, and he never stopped creating. And because of that, we remember Leonardo da Vinci today as a true genius, a man who saw the future. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more easy stories to help you learn English, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.